One of my favorite things about this time of year is when the best of and worst of lists start to come out. We all get to look back at our favorite and least favorite things that came out in whatever field we follow, whether it's music, pop culture, or, in my case, movies. With that said, I've always noticed that those negative worst of lists always end up performing the best. People really enjoy listening to someone trash things that they don't consider to be good. I'm not innocent of it, and I'm sure that you aren't either. We all love to bash things that we consider bad. But today, I want to try something different. I watched over 100 new for 2025 feature films this past year. And today, I'm going to go through and find at least one nice thing to say about each and every one of them. For some movies, it's a piece of cake. For others, well, let's just say I had to get a little bit creative. Before we start, I didn't get a chance to see every single movie that came out this year as much as I would have liked to. So here's a list of some of the biggest blockbusters that I missed. And here's a list of some critically acclaimed and award contender movies that I either missed or haven't got a chance to see yet. But with all that out of the way, let's jump in. One of Them Days is a buddy comedy starring Keke Palmer and SZA. I really enjoyed the over-the-top energy it had, from script to costumes to performances. Wolfman is a horror movie from the Universal Classic Monsters reboot universe. I thought that the makeup design for Christopher Abbott as he slowly turned into the werewolf was incredible. Presence is Steven Soderbergh's ghost story movie from the first-person perspective of the ghost. And if that sounds cool, it's because it is. No spoilers, but there's a shot near the end involving a mirror that I still think about almost a year after seeing it the first time. Flight Risk is Mel Gibson's newest film, starring Mark Wahlberg in a bald cap and a thick accent. And I'll tell you what, he goes all in for this performance, and it's very entertaining. Companion is the Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid-led sci-fi thriller that has one of the most creative scripts of the entire year. If you haven't seen this yet, don't look up a synopsis online, don't look up a trailer, go in blind. It's the best way to see it, and I'm sure you'll be surprised. Dogman is an animated movie based on the popular graphic novels. Pete Davidson plays a character named Petey the cat, and I think it's really funny that he's Pete and it's Petey the cat. Love Hurts is an action comedy starring Oscar winners Ke Huy Quan and Ariana DeBose. This movie has some incredibly creative fight scenes, which makes sense since the director is Jonathan Eusebio, who's one of the most prolific stuntmen in Hollywood. Hard Eyes is a Valentine's Day horror rom-com about a serial killer murdering happy couples. Now, I'm not usually the biggest slasher guy, but the kills in this movie are so sick and inventive that they have to be celebrated purely on how brilliant they are. Paddington in Peru is the third movie in the Paddington Bear series. It's Paddington. Every time you see him on screen, you smile. You can't not. It's Paddington! Captain America: Brave New World is the MCU's newest superhero/political thriller. I always support when movies cast Carl Lumbly. He's just the sweetest man, and I want him to book everything, always. Kinda Pregnant is a Netflix comedy movie where Amy Schumer pretends to be pregnant so that she can make friends with other pregnant women. What did I write in my Letterboxd review? Oh. We'll come back to this one. The Monkey is Osgood Perkins' follow-up to his hit 2024 horror film, Longlegs. I was really impressed by the child actor who played twins in this movie. Mickey 17 is Bong Joon-ho's sci-fi political satire. He made Parasite. He can do no wrong in my eyes. I don't care if he puts out the worst movie of the year, I will always celebrate him. Queen of the Ring is the true story of Mildred Burke, the woman who broke down barriers and revolutionized professional wrestling. It's a very little known story, and I'm glad that it got onto the big screen. Black Bag is Steven Soderbergh's second movie of the year. This one is a spy thriller starring Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett. I think Hollywood often doesn't know the difference between sexy and sex, but this movie absolutely does, as it might be the sexiest movie of the year without a single overt sex scene or making any character get undressed. The Electric State is the Russo brothers' $300+ million Netflix film about a post-apocalyptic sci-fi world. Brian Cox, who plays Logan Roy in Succession, voices a little baseball robot, and I think it's really funny when this little cute robot starts talking and it's Logan Roy's voice. Novocaine stars Jack Quaid as a guy who has a rare condition where he can't feel pain in this action comedy that takes full advantage of that quirk. Watching someone no-sell painful and creative stunts and effects is incredibly funny and entertaining. Locked is a horror thriller where a thief breaks into a car only to find out it was a trap, as he's now stuck inside this car at the mercy of the wealthy old man who owns it. At some point in this movie, Anthony Hopkins shows up, and given that he is, to me, the greatest actor of all time, I consider that an absolute win. Magazine Dreams is the story of an aspiring bodybuilder with some very clear mental health issues. Now, I won't get into controversy. All I will say is that Jonathan Majors gives one of the most brilliant and transcendent acting performances in the leading role of this film that I've ever seen in my life. The Alto Knights is a Robert De Niro-led mob film where De Niro plays two of the biggest mob bosses of that era, Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. It's a De Niro mob movie, what else do I need to tell you? The Woman in the Yard is a psychological horror movie about a woman and her two children realizing that a mysterious woman in a black veil is sitting in their yard looking at them. This movie stars Danielle Deadwyler, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite and most underrated actresses working today. She is absolutely incredible in this film. Not to mention, the cinematography does some really cool things with perspective shift. Death of a Unicorn is an A24 horror comedy starring Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, but it's Will Poulter in a supporting role that really steals every scene and had me laughing almost the entire film. The Luckiest Man in America is based on the true story of Michael Larson, an out-of-work ice cream truck driver who goes on an incredible run in the hit 80s game show Press Your Luck. He's played by Paul Walter Hauser, who gives an incredibly empathetic and beautiful performance. I'm always rooting for that guy. The Penguin Lessons is the story of an English teacher in Argentina who befriends a penguin. It's exactly as charming as it sounds. The Ballad of Wallace Island is a comedy film about an eccentric superfan who hires his favorite musicians of all time to come to the remote island he lives on and play a private concert for him. This is one of the funniest and most heartwarming films of the entire year. It's beautiful, touching, and it's all led by Tim Key's awkward, relatable, and sweet performance in the co-lead opposite Tom Baston. A Minecraft Movie is the film adaptation of the hit video game. There's a moment about midway through the film where they give a nod to a famous Minecraft YouTuber who tragically passed away at 23 years old, and I started crying. I cried during the Minecraft movie. Warfare is a military drama directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. This movie might have the best sound design I've ever heard in a movie theater. I sat in that theater and genuinely felt like I was in the midst of a war zone. Plankton, the movie, is the Netflix spin-off of the hit SpongeBob SquarePants series. The story was actually created and written by Mr. Lawrence, who's the longtime voice actor for Plankton. So that's cool. The Legend of Ochi is a fantasy movie about a young girl who befriends a mystic forest animal that her father is trying to kill. Willem Dafoe's in this movie, and despite it being set in modern times, he's wearing full Roman battle armor, and I think that's hilarious. Drop is a Blumhouse thriller about a woman who's being airdropped threats to her phone in the middle of a date. It's actually a really creative concept, and I think that they do a great job with the whole whodunit mystery going on. Sinners is Ryan Coogler's Mississippi Delta vampire epic. Now, I could talk about this movie for hours, from the great performances to the breathtaking visuals to the immersive music and its integration into that gut-wrenching story. This movie is perfect across the board in my book, and there's a reason why I saw it 4 times in theaters over the span of 3 weeks. Another Simple Favor is the sequel to the hit 2018 film starring Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. Broadway actors Andrew Rannells and Alex Newell are in it, and I always love seeing Broadway actors getting onto the big screen, so that's awesome. The Surfer is Nicolas Cage's new psychological thriller about a man trying to buy a house on the beach that he grew up surfing at, only to be terrorized and hazed by the cult-like locals. Nicolas Cage slowly being convinced that he's going insane might be one of my favorite subgenres of Nick Cage, and this movie does it really well. Thunderbolts is the MCU's anti-hero film with an ensemble cast led by Florence Pugh, who along with Lewis Pullman gives some of the most vulnerable and emotional performances that you will see in any superhero movie in the last couple years. Clown in the Cornfield is Eli Craig's new horror film set in rural Missouri that introduces us to one of my favorite new horror icons of the year, Friendo the Clown. Look at him, he's so cute. Friendship is Tim Robinson's feature film follow-up to his unique style of comedy. People really enjoy his humor, and my screening of this movie had a whole audience full of people laughing almost the entire film. Hurry Up Tomorrow is pop star The Weeknd's feature film accompanying his new album of the same name. I'll tell you what, this movie takes some huge swings and has no interest in playing anything safe, either in the story, the visuals, or the acting. Bring Her Back is the sophomore film from rising horror directors the Philippou brothers. This movie is sick and twisted in the best possible way a horror movie can be, and is led by Sally Hawkins giving one of the most disturbing and incredible performances of the year as the adoptive mother to our two co-lead child actors. The Phoenician Scheme is Wes Anderson's newest film, and has all of those unique Wes Anderson sensibilities and styles. I thought it was really cool finally seeing Benedict Cumberbatch, who is the most Wes Anderson villain-looking actor of all time, finally playing a Wes Anderson movie villain. The Life of Chuck is Mike Flanagan's adaptation of a Stephen King short story that tackles topics like grief, loss, and the inevitability of death. Despite that, this movie might be the most life-affirming film of the entire year. It's beautifully written, incredibly heartwarming, and really makes you want to live your life to the fullest while you still have the chance. Materialists is director Celine Song's follow-up to her Oscar-nominated debut, Past Lives. Song continues her theme of love triangles and might have just picked the three most attractive possible actors to do a love triangle with, as her film stars Chris Evans, Dakota Johnson, and Pedro Pascal. Elio is Pixar's latest animated movie about a young boy named Elio who wants to be abducted by aliens. As someone who at some point down the line, not anytime soon, wants to be a dad, I thought that this movie's themes of fatherhood and parenting in general were really touching. F1 is the Brad Pitt-led race car movie directed by the guy who made Top Gun Maverick. This movie might be the most incredibly impressive, technically made film of the year. From the visual effects, to the race car editing, to the cinematography on the cars and around the track, it is a feat. Megan 2.0 is the sequel to the hit 2022 horror film. This movie decided to take all the camp and silliness from the first film and dial it up to an 11. There's a scene near the end of the film where Megan starts singing, and it's one of the funniest, most absurd sequences in any film all year. K-Pop Demon Hunters is Netflix's hit animated movie, with a name that's probably the most self-explanatory of any movie of the year. This movie matches its amazing music with high pace and chaotic animation to make one of the most visually and sonically interesting films of the entire year. I'm still humming some of those songs. Jurassic World Rebirth is the newest reboot in the Jurassic Park cinematic universe. Mahershala Ali plays a supporting role in this film, and he's Mahershala Ali. 28 years later is the zombie horror follow-up to the hit 2002 film 28 Days Later. The makeup on these zombies is unreal. Eddington is Ari Aster's COVID political drama starring Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal. I am always a sucker for a movie with an election storyline, so I was completely locked in during that portion of the movie. Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight has a title that makes you think you're having a brain aneurysm when you're saying it, but this movie is about a young British girl living in colonized Rhodesia, and it tells this entire story from her perspective, which I think is the best and frankly the only way to tell this story well. Sorry Baby is Eva Victor's writer and directorial debut, which she also stars in. The script absolutely soars, telling a deeply personal and challenging story that I think will resonate with a lot of people on a really visceral level. Together is the Alison Brie and Dave Franco-led horror movie playing on the idea of codependency. The visual effects and specifically the makeup in this film are unreal. You have to see it to believe it. Happy Gilmore 2 is the sequel to Adam Sandler's iconic golf comedy from 1996. This movie is chock full with entertaining and sometimes hilarious cameos from everybody from Eminem to Travis Kelce to Kid Cudi to Post Malone to Becky Lynch. The list goes on and on. Fantastic Four: First Steps is the MCU's reboot of the Fantastic Four characters and follows their battle to save the world against the Silver Surfer and Galactus. This movie has a 4-minute sequence where Paul Walter Hauser plays a character called Mole Man, and if that's not enough to get you interested in the movie, I don't know what is. Freakier Friday is the sequel to the 2003 smash hit starring Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, and frankly this movie just solidified for me that Lindsay Lohan is actually back, and that makes me really happy because it's good to see her back on the screen acting again. Weapons is Zach Cregger's instant horror classic that introduced the world to Aunt Gladys, a character for which I think Amy Madigan deserves a nomination for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars this year, and maybe even a win. This movie does an amazing job with its non-linear storytelling and leaves the audience reeling the entire time trying to figure out what's going on. Superman is James Gunn's swing at the iconic hero, this time played by David Cornsweet. The movie not only has great acting, writing, and visuals, but also has a really important and pertinent message wrapped up in that superhero attire. War of the Worlds is Amazon's modern remake of the 2005 Steven Spielberg film. This might be the top of the list for movies to put on if you're having a bunch of friends over and just want to laugh. The Naked Gun is the absurdist comedy reboot of the popular 80s TV and movie series that follows Detective Frank Drebin, played by Liam Neeson in this film. This movie also co-stars Pamela Anderson, and frankly, I'm just really happy and excited to see Pamela Anderson back on the big screen. She's been through so much in her career, and it's really cool to see that she's doing well, at least professionally. Caught Stealing is Darren Aronofsky's newest film, a crime thriller starring Austin Butler. This movie has those safety tendencies of keeping you at the edge of your seat and making your heart palpitate with its high pace and energy. The Short Game is a small-budget independent film about a high school golfer trying to win the state championship. I saw this movie because someone who I briefly went to drama school with plays a supporting role, and it was really cool to see her on the big screen. The Roses is a marriage comedy starring British icons Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. This movie is written by Tony McNamara, and his script absolutely sings. It's witty, it's clever, and hilarious. The Conjuring: Last Rites is the final film in the Conjuring movie series. It absolutely follows its predecessor's lead and has some undeniably terrifying sequences. The Long Walk is another Stephen King adaptation, this one telling the story of a dystopian game where teenage boys walk until only one of them is left alive. This cast was chock full of young, talented actors, and frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if half a dozen of them turned into either Hollywood A-listers or future Oscar nominees. That's how good they were. I was so impressed. Highest to Lowest is Spike Lee's newest film and stars Denzel Washington as a powerful record executive who has to make some tough decisions when someone tries to kidnap his son. This movie is intertwined with hip-hop music and has a couple real bangers from A$AP Rocky, who also plays a supporting role in the film. The Thursday Murder Club is a Netflix murder mystery set at a retirement home, and this cast is absolutely loaded with veteran talent with Helen Mirren, Ben Kingsley, Jonathan Pryce, Pierce Brosnan, and more. The History of Sound is a historical romance that follows two young music students who fall in love in 1917, played by Josh O'Connor and Paul Mescal. This movie's last 10 minutes really wrap everything up into a nice, tight bow and has some real emotional weight to it. Him is a cult horror film about a star prospect football player and his time training with a retiring legend. That legend is played by Marlon Wayans, who gives his everything in this role. He is menacing, charming, and truly shows that he is not just a comedy actor. Until Dawn is a horror movie based on the popular video game series. The scares in this movie are absolutely legit, and they have a wide range of movie monsters that range from creepy to outright terrifying, with visual effects that stand strong throughout. Eleanor the Great is Scarlett Johansson's directorial debut and follows 94-year-old Eleanor, whose small miscommunication spirals into a huge lie. This movie is worth watching simply to see June Squibb give an awards-worthy performance in her mid-90s. One Battle After Another is Paul Thomas Anderson's action thriller starring Leonardo DiCaprio. If you've seen any trailers for it, you've seen the sequence with the hills, but you've got to see the full film and see it in context to really understand how incredible the cinematography is in that driving sequence. The Smashing Machine is a biopic about MMA pioneer Mark Kerr, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Johnson shows in this movie that he is not just a blockbuster Hollywood mega movie guy, that he can really hold his own when it comes to a critically acclaimed dramatic performance like this. He stacks up against all of the great dramatic performances of the year and really holds his own. A House of Dynamite is a political thriller about an impending missile about to hit the United States. This movie has really quick and high energy editing that really gives you a sense of tension throughout. Roofman is based on the true story of Jeffrey Manchester, an escaped convict who hides out in a Toys R Us to evade police recapture. Channing Tatum plays Manchester and gives an emotionally vulnerable and relatable performance as the big-hearted criminal. Blue Moon is Richard Linklater's retelling of the night that Oklahoma first opened on Broadway, all from the perspective of Lorenz Hart, longtime writing partner of Oklahoma composer Richard Rodgers. This movie's script absolutely soars, so much so that it almost feels like a great stage play. And Ethan Hawke, playing Hart, is one of the most transformative performances of the year, to the point where I genuinely did not recognize him the first 3 times I saw the trailer. Frankenstein is Guillermo del Toro's retelling of the classic Mary Shelley novel. This film has no interest in asking the question of who is really the monster. It's got a very clear perspective on that, and frankly, it works wonders for the story that Del Toro was trying to tell. The production design and costumes in the period setting are done wonderfully, and the entire film is anchored by Jacob Elordi's performance as the monster. It's so good, you've just got to see it to understand. Karate Kid's Legends is the continuation of the Karate Kid universe that brings together Ralph Macchio from the original film series and Jackie Chan from the remakes. Ben Wong had some really cool karate moves. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is a psychological drama about a struggling mother dealing with her child's pediatric feeding disorder. This movie is anchored by Rose Byrne's incredible performance and will leave you as exhausted as she is in the movie, following her around through everything she has to deal with. Die My Love is a psychological thriller about a young mother slipping into a mental breakdown. Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson star, and their chemistry both in positive and in negative sequences of their relationship work well to anchor this entire film. Begonia is Yorgos Lanthimos' latest collaboration with Oscar winner Emma Stone, this time seeing her as a high-powered CEO who is kidnapped by conspiracy theorists who believe that she's secretly an alien. This movie is all about those performances. Emma Stone plays opposite Jesse Plemons, and those two have such great acting chemistry they could do a script written by a 5-year-old and still give great performances. But given this high-energy, bonkers script, what they do is nothing short of magic. The Lost Bus is based on the true story of a school bus driver who works to save a group of stranded school kids from the California wildfires. This movie has amazing cinematography paired with great fire visual effects that really keep the stakes feeling high and real. Airshift is an indie horror movie about a radio station going out of business, a serial killer, radioactive zombies, and more. I found out about this film because I have a friend who was in it, and honestly, I'm so glad I did. These filmmakers clearly did so much with so little and had so many ideas they wanted to implement. They really swung for the fences, and I had a great time watching it. The Running Man is a modern remake of the 1987 dystopian action film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. It really puts up a mirror to propaganda and how easily it can manipulate the masses, and I think it does a very effective job paralleling our modern day. Wicked for Good is the conclusion of last year's smash hit adaptation of the Broadway musical. The sequence of No Good Deeds sung by Cynthia Erivo is not only incredibly sung and performed, but visually breathtaking. Hedda is an adaptation of the classic Hedda Gabler story and follows our leading lady as she spins a web of manipulation to get exactly what she wants. The classic aesthetics of this period film seamlessly fit with Tessa Thompson's performance, which I think might be the best of her entire career. Nouvelle Vague is Richard Linklater's second film of the year and follows the production and creation of iconic French New Wave film Breathless. This movie not only made me nostalgic for an era that I didn't grow up in, but one that I didn't even know anything about until seeing this movie. It is seamless, effortless, and glides throughout the entire film and really just makes you feel like you're a part of this story. Hamnet is a story of life, love, and tragedy following Agnes and her husband, a young William Shakespeare. This movie absolutely broke me. It's an emotional powerhouse led by Jessie Buckley's career-defining lead performance and amazing supporting performances from Paul Mescal as William Shakespeare and Jacoby Jupe as their 12-year-old son. I cry at movies pretty regularly, but this movie had me crying almost from top to bottom. It shook me to my core, and I think is one of the most incredible things you can see at the cinemas this year. Sentimental Value is a Norwegian film about an aging filmmaker trying to reconnect with his daughters while also trying to make his last great film. Renate Reinsve has a wonderful, wonderful scene at the very beginning of this movie on stage that really sets the tone for the entire film to come. Rental Family is the Brendan Fraser-led drama about an American actor living in Japan who's hired to become a rental family actor, someone who plays roles in people's lives in order to fill a void for them. His performance playing opposite legendary Japanese actor Akira Emoto-san is one of the most heartwarming and phenomenal things that you will see on screen all year. Train Dreams is a quiet and intimate film about railway builder Robert as we follow him from his early days to his very last. This movie is beautifully shot, so much so that every single shot feels like it could be framed and put up as its own portrait. It is gorgeous and awe-inspiring every time we see what the camera's doing with this film. It's another really emotionally heavy one, anchored by a quiet and powerful performance by Joel Edgerton that really leaves you in a different place than you were before you saw the movie. Nuremberg is a historical drama about the Nuremberg trials following the fall of Nazi Germany. It's anchored by Russell Crowe's performance as Nazi leader Hermann Göring. This performance is his best in years, and it is genuinely terrifying how sympathetic and relatable he can make a war criminal and genocider seem. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is the second film in the cinematic universe based on the hit video game series. As someone who grew up as a FNAF fan, I really enjoyed what they did with the marionette character and thought that the makeup elements they used for the character later in the film were really cool. Jay Kelly is Noah Baumbach's newest film about an aging Hollywood star. Early in the film, there is a 5-minute sequence with supporting actor Billy Crudup, and he gives a performance so good that I genuinely wish that Noah Baumbach's next film would just be telling that character's story. Ballad of a Small Player is the newest film from Oscar winner Edward Berger and follows a gambling addict living in Macau trying to turn his luck around. I won't make any spoilers, but there is a moment with Colin Farrell's leading character where a twist happens, and the transition from one thing to another that he gives is unbelievable. Zootopia 2 is the sequel to the Disney animated hit. This movie has Ke Huy Quan voicing a very lovable snake, and honestly, it might be my favorite casting decision of the entire year. It's wonderfully charming. Anemone is Daniel Day-Lewis's return to the big screen after retiring 10 years ago to act in his son's directorial debut. This movie absolutely knows how to film nature. It has a true understanding and respect of the outdoors, of weather, and there are some of the most beautiful visuals that you will see on screen in this film. Wake Up Dead Man is the third movie in the Knives Out series. As always, the movie is stacked with an amazing supporting cast, and I think it might have the best pure mystery of any of the Knives Out movies so far. The Secret Agent is a Brazilian film set in 1977 and follows a man trying to escape political persecution. There's a sequence in the third act that was so dynamic that I genuinely sat forward in my seat at the movie theater and leaned towards the screen while it happened. Marty Supreme is Josh Safdie's ping-pong thriller starring Timothée Chalamet. This movie works pretty much on every single level, from the high-paced editing to the dynamic cinematography to the amazing performance from Timothée Chalamet, not just as an actor, but as a professional quality ping-pong player. His dedication to this role is so clear, and I would not be surprised if this was the one that finally got him his first Oscar win. Song Sung Blue is a biopic about Lightning and Thunder, the Neil Diamond tribute band who become local celebrities in Milwaukee and overcome incredible hardship in their personal lives. This movie is led by two wonderful performances from Hugh Jackman and especially Kate Hudson, who really goes on a journey with her character and gives a lovely performance throughout. Anaconda stars Jack Black and Paul Rudd making their own reboot of the hit 1997 film of the same name. This movie has a lot of meta humor about them making a reboot of a movie in the movie that is itself a reboot of a movie, which I thought was charming. It also plays with its horror comedy elements and got a couple good laughs and a couple good jump scares out of me. Is This Thing On is a dramedy about a man who discovers stand-up comedy as a way to process his recent divorce. This movie clearly has a lot of love and respect for the New York City stand-up comedy scene, as a lot of those New York City comics actually play featured roles in this film, playing versions of themselves. The Housemaid is a psychological thriller about a down-on-her-luck woman who takes a job as a live-in housemaid for a family that clearly has some secrets lying under the surface. Amanda Seyfried is getting Oscar buzz for a different performance she gave this year in a movie I haven't gotten to see yet, but this movie is another example of her wonderful range and talent. And finally, Good Boy is the haunted house movie told entirely from the perspective of the loyal pet dog. This is genuinely the best performance I have ever seen from an animal in any movie ever. I know that might sound silly, but trust me, you have got to see Indy the dog to believe it. He genuinely gives a performance that is better than a lot of the human actors I saw in movies this year. It is unreal, and he really is a good boy. Well, I think that just about does it. We went through all 103 of those movies, and we had something nice to say about every single one of them. Oh no. Okay, fine. Okay. Kinda Pregnant was less than 2 hours long.